It's that time. It's Tuesday night, and we're live for Training Tuesday. I'm happy you guys are joining me tonight. We have a really interesting topic tonight that I think you guys will really get into. This whole idea of being a giver and what it means to be a giver and how it really does show up in our career, kind of the patterns that it creates. So we're going to dive into being a giver and this concept of being a giver and being invisible, which is one of the ways in which it translates. So thank you for joining me for Training Tuesday. My name is Natalie Hahn. I am the CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting. And as always, I am thrilled to be here tonight and happy to have you guys joining me. As I go through the training tonight, feel free to say hello in the chat, ask any questions. As long as I can see the comments, I don't always see the comments, but I do try to stay on top of those. I'm happy to address any questions you have as we go, because it's live and that's why we're here. So let's dig into our topic tonight. The are you a giver and are you giving too much? And what does that mean? Now, this pattern of giving and this pattern that translates into often this pattern of invisibility is something that starts with us, right? Conditioned in us from an early age, right? We have conditioning patterns, and you've heard me talk about this before, at an early age of being quiet, don't be too loud, right? Don't push yourself out there too much. It's not seemly, it's not feminine, it's not appropriate for a girl, right? We get these messages as we're getting raised about how to keep ourselves smaller and quieter. And we're trained to give. We're trained to serve, to support, to nurture, and to tap into our intuition when it comes to other people. So we have this conditioning, and then we move into the work environment. And while this happens in lots of different environments, this particular pattern that I'm talking about tonight, this invisibility pattern and how it connects to being a giver, it's really prevalent in the corporate environments. It is encouraged and supported by male constructed environments because it's what keeps us in these patterns where we have these expectations of how we're supposed to show up as women. But these expectations of how we're supposed to show up are in direct conflict with what we deem appropriate leadership. So this is what I mean. When we step into the work world, right, and by these male constructed environments, they don't have to be male dominated environments, they can be. What I mean is that your typical work environment, and especially your corporate environments, are based on male constructs, masculine forms of leadership, masculine forms of building out organizations, and even women-led companies today build their organizations around these masculine constructs because it's what we know. The male style of leadership is the default, expected standard of leadership. So it's what we measure against. It's not intuitively how women lead, though. So we run into these conflicts all the time at work in particular. Like I said, it shows up at home and it shows up in other environments, but it's most evident, and so it's easier probably for me to give you some examples when we're talking about corporate America. We're talking about just business environments and work environments. Here's the double-edged sword that shows up, that puts us in this giving supportive motion, and that puts us in this invisibility pattern. We hide as a way to survive in the corporate worlds. And you've heard me talk about hiding before and hiding strategies, and this invisibility pattern is one of those. It's kind of an overarching for several techniques we use to hide. And we do this because think about how we get judged or how we get penalized for being assertive. So we want to be assertive. We want to step up in a meeting. We want to say what we think. We want to put our opinions out there. And then we get penalized for being too brash, for being too loud, right? That sends us back into this invisibility pattern. I can't be too brash. I can't be too loud. But the double-edged sword is, unless we're assertive, we don't get promoted. We don't get recognized. right? So double-edged sword, right? If we are assertive, we get accused of being too brash, too pushy, too loud. And if we're not assertive, we don't get the recognition we want to move forward in our careers. We're too timid. Another way it shows up is in these male constructs, right? Especially if you are in a male-dominated environment, the expectation is that you're going to lead like men, so you're going to behave like men. And the more that women try to fit in with one of the guys, the more they get criticized by both genders. There's a backlash to trying to fit in and be one of the guys. And yet, if you're not one of the guys, you're just dismissed. You're not recognized at all. Another pattern that shows up is speaking up for yourself, right? Speaking up for yourself. A lot of women come to me and say, I need to find my voice. I need to find a way to either stand up for myself or just voice what I think. And this is a huge challenge because if we assertively, right, get back to the issue, if we voice what we think, we get labeled, boy, she's pushy, boy, she's abrasive, she's not very feminine, right? She's just always kind of pushing her stuff out there. And yet if we don't do the self-promotion, the assumption is that we're kind of back in a corner and we're not really doing anything at all. Our work isn't visible. So I'm curious if these things sound familiar to you guys. Any of these patterns sound familiar to what you're experiencing at work or how you show up at work? When we're focused on other people, right? This sends us back into an invisibility pattern, right? When you put yourself out there and then there's a backlash, and you put yourself out there and then, there's pushback and there's judgment. What do? We go back to our comfort zone. We go back to this invisibility pattern where it's like, fine, I'm just going to behave behind the scenes. I'm going to make things happen quietly under the covers in the background. Hey, chill. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad and I'm not glad this sounds familiar. I'm glad it sounds familiar because it means what I'm talking about makes sense to you. Hey, Sue. And I'm not glad because it's a difficult pattern for us to disrupt. And it's difficult to disrupt because so much of it actually starts with these kind of childhood conditioning that we've had for a long time, right? So what happens with this is we get pushed back into this place where first, our focus and our attention is always on other people, right? When we're pushed into the invisibility pattern, we get pushed in this mode of, fine, I'm not going to speak up, but I can make things happen and I can be supportive of this team just from the background. So we become super tuned in to what other people want and what other people need. So we know exactly when our boss is stressed and what we can do to support our boss to alleviate some of that stress. We know when our team is hitting a wall and we figure out how can we help them to either get things done faster or change deadlines, but what can we do? We are highly keyed in to how other people are thinking and feeling and what they need. And this includes partners, this includes our children, our parents. We get this training from childhood, right, to use our intuition to focus on what do other people want and expect from us, and we deliver it. And then in the workplace, when we get pushed into this invisibility pattern, we do the same thing. We use those same skills to tune in to what everybody else wants. Now, when we do this, we become really good at serving up what others want, but we fall into a habit of chronic selfless service. Chronic selfless service. That's like a tongue twister. But basically, we are constantly giving out what other people need. And part of it is a cool thing because we like helping people. We are nurturers by nature. It makes us feel good, and this is how we're trained, right? Helping and supporting people is good. So it makes us feel good to help others. But when you're chronically giving all your energy to helping others, and you're chronically hiding in this pattern of invisibility, right? You're chronically behind the scenes. Where in there is you and your career? It's not. When we are chronically focused on other people and their needs, when we're so keyed into what other people need from us, what do we lose? If you're a mother, you know this. What do you lose? You lose yourself first. When we're tuned into other people, and you do not have to be a mother to experience this, by the way, that's just like an easy, fast example. You know yourself. If you are somebody who is consistently tuned in to what other people need and what other people want, you lose yourself. You lose touch with what you want, what you think, how you feel, and even what you want to do in the next moment, because what you're keying into is, what do they want me to do? What will make them more comfortable? And then it becomes a vicious cycle because you're constantly focused on other people and you have no focus on yourself. You don't even know what you want. But there gets a time and a place where this continuous giving of your energy and this giving away of your power, because when we fall in the invisibility mode, we do give away our power. We're saying, I don't have any. I'm going to lurk here behind the scenes and try to nudge and push things, but I'm going to hide when I do it, right? So we give away our power, we give away our energy, and we don't have anything left to give. We're exhausted. When we hit this state, we get to a place where we are thoroughly frustrated and we're tired and we're looking around us and we're wondering, where's our help? We help everyone else all the time, and we're so keyed into everyone else all the time that we assume that they are also keyed into us, that they're also in tune with what we're feeling and what we need, because our doing this is so second nature. It is second nature. It is automatic for us to be in a room full of people and look around and automatically get a sense of that person needs another drink and this person needs a comfortable place to sit, and we're going to go make those things happen. We think everybody else is also keyed into other people just like this, but they're not. We are, because we're in that giver mode. We've been in this role for a long time. We are always keyed into other people. Most other people are keyed into what they need to do, to what they want. They're focused on their goals, their objectives, their projects, their universe. They're not focused on you at all. They may be a little bit aware of what you're doing, but that doesn't mean they're keyed into what your needs are. It doesn't mean they're in tune with exactly what you need when you need it. When we are in this mode and we're frustrated, we think that they are. And so what happens? We get mad. We get mad because we think it's obvious. It is obvious that I am fried. It is obvious I need extra support. It is obvious it'd be nice if you made dinner tonight instead of me, because I've done it like every night for the past 17 nights. It's obvious that I need someone else to help pick up this piece of the project because I just don't have time on my calendar to do it. And we're frustrated because it's only obvious to us. It is not obvious to the people around us. It might be obvious to them that we're not as keyed into them right now and we're not supporting them as much and we're cranky. It's not obvious to them why. Now, I want to mention one thing that I actually forgot to mention earlier, which is one of the other reasons we will slip back into this invisibility mode, right? I mentioned that we slip into this mode because it avoids conflict, right? We slip into this mode because instead of having to fight the strife of being accused of being too abrasive or too loud or too anything, if we stay in the background, we avoid conflict. If we stay in invisibility mode, if we stay in the background, we can still give, and we're comfortable because we're out of the spotlight. And we've been raised our whole lives to stay out of the spotlight. So it's a comfortable place to be. But the other reason why we're often givers who slide into invisibility mode is because it conserves our energy. It is 2021, and still today, any woman who has family, who has kids, who has a home life, works a second shift. Women still carry the burden of the second shift. So sometimes being in invisibility mode at work means I can get my job done and I can find some satisfaction in some of these smaller things, but I'm not involved in constantly pushing my energy out there to try to be seen and to try to be heard. I conserve my energy so that when I get home, I have enough left to give to the second shift. So when you think about those of you who identify with this mode, when you think about invisibility mode and being a giver, you have to remember this is not something to beat yourself up for. This is not it's your fault that you should fight harder or you should be louder or you should be anything. This is a whole lot of conditioning and a safe place to be. And so it is natural. It is natural that we fall into this place and into this pattern because it keeps us safe, because it conserves our energy, because it helps us get our job done, and we can be somewhat effective behind the scenes trying to be that more quiet, subtle from the back leader. There are benefits to it, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't get you where you want to go in terms of your BHAG. If you have that big, hairy, audacious goal, if you have a BHAG that you're trying to tackle in terms of getting to that next step in your career, that new project, that new initiative, whatever it is that you want to tackle, playing the invisibility card and being a giver, or an over-giver, I should say, it doesn't help you get there. Now, I'm not saying, and I never say, that you need to be loud and bombastic and you have to be like one of the guys. And if you're in my 10-week course on leadership, or if we coach one-on-one, you know this. You know that what I really focus on is how do we bring the best parts of you forward? And how do you walk through this world in a way that is with your confidence, your grounding, and your style? I don't believe, and I've never believed, that we have to play the corporate games the corporate way to be successful. We can do it our way. We first have to find and identify what our way is. And when we're a giver and we're so in tune to other people, we lose our sense of self. We're not in tune to what our way is. So if you are identifying yourself in this category of being a giver and over-giver, so that you're exhausted and you're tired and you're not feeling supported, and being invisible, where you're not heard and you're not really making progress, and you're continuing to give in support to others, but you're not feeling it back, right? You're not getting it back. There are steps we can take to step out of this mode and into a more proactive mode. You can still be a giver, but you're going to be a giver with some boundaries. And the first thing we have to do, honestly, the first thing you have to do is take time and start tuning in to you. Because that's the first thing that you lost, was your sense of what you wanted out of this, what your career goal really is, what it is you want to achieve, if not in the next 6 months or year, in the next 5 years or 10 years. That's what's missing when you walk into your engagements at work, is what you want to achieve with this project, what you want to get before this deadline happens. So the first thing you have to do is start recentering to yourself and using your intuition, which is so finely honed on other people, and flip it back in on yourself. And here's the thing, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to spend a lot of time going, I don't know what I think, I don't know what I feel, I don't know what I want, or you're going to know what you think and feel and want, and you're still going to go, it's not right. I want too much, or it's not practical, or it doesn't make sense, or it's never going to happen. You will very quickly rationalize yourself right back into the invisibility zone, because it's safe there. And that's what we do. And that gremlin imposter voice in our head goes, no, you don't want to go there. You don't want to do that. Go back here where you're safe and you know what the game is and you know how to play it. If you are happy in that zone and playing that game, kudos to you, enjoy. But you got to be happy there. If you're not happy there and you want to be heard and seen more, and you have a different or a bigger impact that you want to make, and you have a goal you want to tackle, then the first thing you got to do is start looking inside and getting comfortable with that voice, with your intuition. And it's okay if you don't know right away. It's okay if you don't have the answers for exactly what you want to do, or what's going to happen next, or in 6 months, or in 6 years. The important part is the practice of starting to tune in and ask yourself the question and start listening to the answers. And the answers, the more you ask yourself and the more you stay in tune, the answers will become more clear over time. Because if the first part is tuning into yourself, the second part is finding your clarity. Getting clarity around what it is you want to achieve and where it is you want to go. Getting clarity around how you want to show up, who you want to be, how you want to lead. Like I said, this is not about playing the game of how can I lead more like that guy or even that woman. It's how do I want to be a leader? What's my style of leadership going to be? How am I going to comfortably accomplish what I need to do, including using my voice to speak up for myself, to present myself, to share my value, to show the world who I am and what I'm about, without feeling like I'm constantly competing with a room full of men or a bunch of other people. So step 1, tune into yourself. Step 2 is to clarify what it is you're going after. And then step 3 is a mantra. And I actually took this mantra from Dr. Claire Zammit. But I love this mantra because the way that she frames it is when you're in that conversation with somebody and you feel yourself kind of mentally and emotionally stepping back, you're stepping in an invisibility zone where you're going to let them shine. You're going to put them forward. You're going to put their needs first. The mantra that she gives is, it is my responsibility. It is my responsibility to presence myself. Others can't know until I tell them. It is my responsibility to presence myself, and others can't know until I tell them. It is on us to find our voice and to use it so that anyone who's with us or around us understands clearly what we need. Or if we don't need anything, maybe they just understand who we're about and what we're going after. But that's our responsibility. When we're in invisibility mode, we wait for people to recognize us. We wait for people to come find us and see us and know what we need. And you already know this. If you know this pattern, you know this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Most people aren't that tuned into us. They're not honed in on everything we want and need every moment because they're not the same kind of givers that we are. They're not. We are tuned into everybody else. They are not tuned into us. So it is your responsibility to presence yourself, to make your needs known, to share that. When you start showing up that way, you will be amazed at what the universe gives back to you. You will be amazed at how people hear you and see you. And by presencing yourself, and I like that use of the word, because this is not about standing in front of the room and being the loudest person. It's not necessarily about leading from the front. It is about having a voice that's heard. It's about having a voice that's respected. But you don't get that voice until you yourself hear it and you yourself respect it. Once you've done that, it's natural the way it comes out, and that everybody else stops what they're doing and that they listen. So that is all about being a giver and the invisibility pattern, right? Our challenges are that it's a double-edged sword, right? The world in general, but especially corporate America, has this double-edged thing of you've got to be loud and you got to promote yourself to get ahead. And yet the louder we are and the more we promote ourselves, the more we're told we're too abrasive, we're too loud, and we're not very feminine and go back in our corner. And then we scurry into invisibility mode because it's comfortable, because it's safe, because it conserves our energy. But the result is we don't get the promotion, we don't get the raise, we don't get the recognition for all the work that we're doing because we're doing it all behind the scenes, invisible. So if we want to break this pattern, we have to start taking some of that energy that we're putting on everybody else, and we have to cut the expectations that we have of everybody else, that they are tuning into us and that they know what they need, that we need. We have to take that energy and focus it inward. Who am I? What do I need? And where am I going? Focus on you, get clarity on you, and then remind yourself it is my responsibility to presence myself, to make my presence, my position known. That's my job. So I hope you found this interesting and helpful. Like I said, this is a really common pattern I see in women who spend time in corporate America, and we slide into that invisibility pattern and we don't even recognize it. And again, why would we? Why would we? It's habitual. We've been sliding into that pattern since childhood. It's a lot of our conditioning as we grow up, right? Be quiet, play nice, stay over there. Don't be too loud. Don't be too pushy. Nobody likes a woman who's loud and pushy. We get all those messages growing up. And corporate America compounds that. So if you would like to talk more about your pattern, if it's the isolation pattern that I talked about last week, if it's the invisibility pattern that I talked about tonight, if it's a whole different pattern you're recognizing that's just not serving you, then I'm going to invite you to drop the word pattern in the chat. Drop the word pattern in and I will contact you. We'll have a free 15-minute conversation. It is a sales-free zone. I'm not selling you anything in 15 minutes. I can't. It's really not enough time. But that's not the point of the call. The point of the call is if I can help you in 15 minutes have a very focused, direct conversation about where you're at and where you want to go. My goal is to give you one actionable tip to get you moving forward. That's all that the 15 minutes is for. And if we're focused and direct, we can get a lot done in 15 minutes. Actually, it's a good amount of time for a good conversation. So I invite you to join me. It's free, no obligation, no sales. It's a 15-minute call to focus on you, on the challenge that you're dealing with today, and to get you one action step closer to your BHAG, to your vision, to a life that you love. So, drop the word, what did I say it was? Drop the word pattern. I just completely blanked. Drop the word pattern in the chat. I would love to reach out and talk to you and spend a little time with you, tell you more about the programs that I run and see if there's a fit for you. But that's another conversation. Post this one. The first conversation that we have is a 15-minute conversation to just see if I can even help. Love to talk to you guys. Love always getting to know you more in this group. Appreciate you joining me tonight for Training Tuesday to talk about tonight's invisibility pattern. Our goal is to not be invisible. Our goal is to be powerful in the way that we want to be powerful, in the way that fits for us. Oh, and if you're not part of the 5-day challenge, it's Tuesday, so it's the second day of the challenge, but it's not too late to join. The challenge started yesterday. We go through Friday. It's a 5-day challenge. We are flexing some of these leadership muscles and building these skills. If you drop the word challenge in the chat, I will get you the information to get you in there. It is not too late to catch up. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight on Training Tuesday. I look forward to hearing from you for that 15-minute chat, and until then, I will see you next week as well. Hey, and thanks, Jill. So glad you made it tonight.